After more than 15 years of field research, the Explain group decided to step up into the alien phenomenon. Since INEC's three-level classification of close encounters, the extent of the incidents and case studies grew to a degree of complexity which called for a new perspective in the interaction between humans and the visitors, shifting the prime focus of the investigation from the flying crafts to the extraterrestrial or interterrestrial biological entities, EBE, IBE. Close Encounters X, or CEX, is the TXP's 5-level classification of alien interference. CEX-1, or sighting of flying objects at great distance. CEX-2, or sighting of flying objects at medium or close range, which results in a modification of the environment. CEX-3, or sighting of EBE, IBE on the ground, with or without a craft. CEX-4, or human EBE, IBE interaction on all levels, from abductions to conflicts to cooperation. CEX-5, or human EBE, IBE product, from hybrids to clones to engineered living creatures, ELC.
Good evening, everybody from Italy. The Explain group speaking, Diego Antolini, again with Leah for episode 10 of Starseed series. Hi, Leah.
Hey, how are you? How's it going?
I'm good. This could be, let's leave the question mark, could be the final episode of the series.
Is it the end? Like
it's the end, but it's never the end, as you know. So
there's no such thing as end. No.
Every end is a new beginning, so who knows? But anyway, for this, at least for this plan that we had about the 10 episode series, it's the conclusive one. It's the conclusive one. It's been a great journey, and maybe we can leave this to the closure, but let's go straight to the point. In this final episode of Starseed, we try to get from Leah. She told us that she remembers more than one past lives. Especially, she has 3 in particular that she put in her book. And the second one, we talked about the Atlantean life briefly. She recounted like a couple of episodes, and she gave us a few information about what her life was like at that time in Atlantia. But there is another life which she still remembers pretty well, and this life, I think it's remarkable because it takes us completely in a different plane of reality, a different planet for sure, and maybe off camera we were debating whether it was in another universe, on a different timeline or not. But anyway, Leah will tell us right now what are her memories about her life as an Ezoni being. Leah, Ezoni being, what is that?
That's a great question, because even to this day, it's because Ezoni are one of the many interstellar races that have actually achieved interstellar travel, unlike humans. However, they do share a lot of humanoid features, like, you got the 1 head, 2 arms, 2 legs, usually have a head full of hair, etc. With a slight exception of a few physical features like the skin color, shades of skin color, eye shape, eye color, a lot, right? So they're more or less humanoid in appearance. But Ezoni, it's a very interesting question because their behavior and mannerisms are not too unlike humans, if I were to make a comparison, but they're still quite if you were to have an Ezoni meet a human who never met an ET before, it would be quite confronting, to say the least, because they're very sociable, they're very ecstatic, they're very energetic. Like I would say somebody who's constantly on a buzz. If I were to make a comparison, they're very relaxed. They don't really they take life as if it's all like a big joke. Okay, maybe I'm a bit too harsh. I do apologize, but they're very chill. They're very chill people, despite all their craziness sometimes. But my life, when I was one a long time ago, that was just life. I had very little else to compare it to, but I was living that. The Ezoni are currently a very advanced civilization. They can do interstellar travel. They have a great many abilities as well, like technologically as well as spiritually and beyond as well. They can do a whole lot of things. But in my time, when I was born on Elzona, the home world, we didn't have a lot of that. We were very limited. We were not interstellar travel. It's not because we were forbidden to travel or anything like that. We were just we were still living in huts. still doing the same old thing. We were still farming. Like it was very like primitive. So I grew up in a family with a few children in my home, and I remember not having very. My parents were absent, but the thing is, the village where we were living, it was rather a small village. It was we were part of a tribe essentially, and my parents were quite absent. However, the village kind of took care of us. So it was all the other adults that took responsibilities of each other's children. It wasn't just pushed off to solely on the parents of said children. So everyone had like a shot to take care of them and even imprint some experience and wisdom and values as well. So it was a shared community, and it was quite small, so it was very doable. And the life was actually very, very good in a sense of, comparatively speaking. Not to say I didn't suffer any kind of trauma or pain, because there's always a bit of that. There's always a bit of challenge. There's always a bit of pain and suffrage involved. But Elzona, my life as an Ezoni, was probably the most. It was very strange because when I talked about my life in Atlantia, and when I go back into those memories, when I go back into that life, I remember it was constant conflict. I was in constant conflict, despite my external surroundings being seemingly serene. I was always fighting with somebody in my life. I was always fighting with myself more than anybody else. But when I was living as an Ezoni, I didn't really have as much conflict. I kind of had a way of life where I sort of stepped back, and that was kind of like the Ezoni way as well. Like particularly the culture, my group anyway, had that sort of mentality of they could just sort of step back and kind of look beyond what the pieces that we are given. Like we not only do we look at the various pieces that we have, but we actually have this sort of way of looking at the whole board to see where the whole game is really. That your life isn't just that. Whatever's happening in your life is not just happening solely to you. It's just a moment in time. It's just a blink. And make sure you keep your eyes open, otherwise you'll miss out on whatever you need to see and learn from. It's all about learning. So I was.
Let me ask you one question.
Sure.
At the time, you said you were like a farming society, a small tribe, so small community. Your language was physical, or do you already master the telepathy, or what type of communication you had at the time?
Great question. Okay, so we had verbal communication. At that time, it was kind of more or less dominant still. However, we still had we were adept users of psionics, so we could telepathically speak, but we weren't true telepaths, if this makes any sense. Now bear with me on this one. We didn't necessarily communicate through thoughts, but we actually communicated through emotions instead. Not to say, so we would talk through each other's emotions, because that was just the way we were taught. Because like all Ezoni are born with a certain level of psionic potential to them. And it was with all beings do. It's always above zero with all beings. But with Ezoni, as was anything really, it's about training. It's about exposure. It's about having the right teachers there to teach you to show you and identify what is psionics and what is not, and how to enhance what you've got. With us, even though we had technically telepathy, but what we really had was something called telepathy. Communication through emotions, and also empathy and all that fun stuff. And empathy, I never liked it. It's not fun. Not for me, thank you.
You remember that you were using more verbal communication rather than this telepathy. I really like the word telepathy, because it says a lot about what the psionic energy came from. Was not like a mental technique, but was emotional. Means it was coming from the soul, from the vital energy.
It was easier. It was much easier. It was actually because it was easier to transfer, and it was easier to pick up. So we just used that, and that was
and it. At the time, for what you remember, the planet, you said the name of the planet was Azona?
Azona, yes.
Azona. Mm-hmm. In Azona, there were other alien visitors from other planets, from other civilizations. Like there was like a mingling of this civilization, or you were like in our condition right now? That
right. That's it. Well, it's interesting because we were almost exactly like bear with me on this one. Ezoni have like humans have had ET contact throughout their history. So Ezoni at that time mirrors that us as in humans now. So it's very much so like. However, at that time we had names for these beings, names that we called them, because we saw them in a very different light. Like we didn't see them as like, oh, they're just like us as ETs. No. We saw them as something else, like not too dissimilar as spirits, like spirits, angels, demons, of the sorts. Like we actually even had a particular reference to them. Like they my particular tribe, my culture, had this very strong emphasis on balance. Like everything was balanced. Like you had we held the wilderness in high reverence, the wilds, and nature must have constant balance maintained. Otherwise, if anything gets too high or too low, the whole thing falls apart, and that harmony is lost. So we were trying to kind of be the not arbiters, but like shepherds, maybe, people who actually help facilitate that to continue on. So we lived very much so with nature. We never worked against it. But in regards with the other beings that were living there, we had names for them. We called them the wild spirits, and we thought that these particular beings literally came from the wild, because but we never saw them as like we did see them as higher than us, but we saw them as children. Think of it that we saw them as super powerful children that would sort of come in, do whatever they want, and then zip back out again. Sometimes we could communicate with them. Sure, we could have that, we would have holy men, if you will, kind of be their be conduits between them and us. But it was, we were exposed to other beings, and with other beings as well. Like we've actually had physical interactions with other beings before, and and that's then eventually when we got to a certain age and development, a certain stage of evolution, cultural evolution, we eventually learned what these beings really were, and one day humans will eventually get the same hint too. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Okay, and why don't you show us right now one of your drawings, and you can describe it and put it into perspective with your memories of this life as an Ezoni being.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to show you the. All right, so if you see a purple man shirtless, I can explain.
Okay.
This is Ezoni. Yeah, so just don't get too excited, ladies. Okay. But yeah, this is just an idea. This was actually my friend forced me to draw this, but that's a whole other story. But it is an Ezoni person. And then you have these other images. I'm not sure how clearly you can see that. So if you can see a girl in a tree, can you see how?
Yeah, yes, with there is big eyes, big hollow eyes, or something, or no, because it's very blurred. Okay, now like this, if you skid it a little bit, no, if you skid it a little bit, like put it a little bit in diagonal, then I can see better.
Diagonal like this?
No, okay, like this, perfect.
A bit crooked.
Yeah, crooked like this, then we can see it perfectly. Okay, so we see a girl. Yeah, we see a girl.
Yeah.
On a tree. Oh, that's you. That's you. Okay, show us again. Show us again.
Okay.
Understand?
Technical difficulties.
No. Put it to the center of the frame.
Okay.
To the center, like to your right. Okay, here, and then crook it a little bit. Let's see if we can be on focus.
I'm so sorry about this.
No, it's okay. It's we could see it before. Now try to skid it a little bit backward.
Did you want me to just take a photo for you? And
okay, stop like this. This, it's very clear. It was clear. Anyway, we saw it a couple times. We saw it a couple times. The costumes and the outfit, and it's pretty much like a lot of fantasy drawings that we can see around. So that leads me to believe that it could be part of a collective consciousness that we have about some beings being humanoid and like simply dressed. There's nothing really that special, right? In that case.
It's just primitive. It was just like we didn't really. We were living in an environment that was warm, so we never really had to rug up, and we had minimal. We just needed minimal stuff, really, just to cover up the more important parts and move on with our day. Really, that was about it. So yeah.
When the memory of the Ezoni started to surface into your mind, like before you met with Mesrith and Tajizan, or after you started to, when they basically started to train you, so to speak?
Well, I have to. I was getting feelings. I wasn't always this way in childhood. So this is around the time this is when I met Antaji-san for the first time. So I knew that she and I were kin, that we had a commonality. Like I wasn't looking at a stranger. I was looking at somebody who was very familiar to me. And
hang on a second. So Antaji-san is an Ezoni?
That's right. Yes, she is. Yes.
Okay, now it makes sense.
So,
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, important note to make. When I met her, she's an Ezoni. So I felt that sort of kinship with her. But of course, I couldn't really identify what it was. I just had that feeling, and then as the years progressed and our communications continued, it felt like a very kind of normal relationship to have with us, and like a familial, in fact, relationship. So that there too. But it wasn't until so my first memories, it's hard to say exactly when when my past life memories first started up, because they would sort of happen sporadically,
Right.
in flashes, and but most of the time they would come in waves, like feelings of, like, sensations. They weren't clear things, but they were always sort of hidden, like they were just there, and then they would sometimes rise up, and that's when I would get like a memory, and then they would just die back down again. But if I was exposed to certain people, like Antaji-san, certain things would come up, and it wasn't until I was about when I rekindled with her when I was about 14, is when it came back. This life, when I was Ezoni, it came back to me. So that's when it.
And then you went to Antages and then she confirmed, or you never talked about this? I mean, I'm sure you did,
We
right?
did. Yeah. No. Yeah. We talked at great lengths about it, because, it was okay. So, Alzana is a place that I ache to go back to. Now, Atlantia is gone. That place doesn't exist anymore. So there's no place to go back to reminisce. Alzona still is around, and I ache for that world, because that was one of my happiest lives I've had there, and it was not perfect, of course. There was no perfection. It was riddled with problems, as all places are, but I felt whole there. And when I left that world, part of me stayed, and it feels like part of my soul is still there. And I'm sorry.
It's okay, Leah, because first of all, I don't want you to get too emotional. I understand what it means to you now, because I didn't actually put together the pieces of the puzzle between you and Antages and in this life. Now I understand that. And I don't want you to go on this on a great length, because you already wrote a book that I think it made you suffer enough to, like you said in the last episode, like you put a lot into that, and it's right for you and for everybody who wants to know more about Leah's life on Ezoni and other lives, to read the book, to get the book and read it. It's a great help for Leah. It's a great support, and also it's I think it's a great learning. Like, we should all learn from people like Leah, that she's sharing lives that no longer belong to her, but she bears it within. And this memory is, sometimes it's a bliss, sometimes it's a haunting. Don't think it's just a blessing, because we can tell Leah is not able to hide emotions, and also to
I struggled.
I know, and so that's why I stopped you right here, Leah. I hope you don't mind, but I think it's the right moment to finish, to end this journey, our experience that we've had in 10 episodes with the Starseed project. Was for me a great experience, very meaningful, very insightful. We'll continue, of course, to work together. Leah will continue to hold conferences and write books and talk to everyone who is interested in what she has to share in this life for us in this time, about this and other times as well. So Leah, I think this is a good way to bid farewell, but I want you to smile, and well, I really deeply thank you for sharing all these things with us, with everyone on the internet for so long, and I appreciate it. I will never forget these moments. So thank you a lot. If you want to give one last message to everyone who's watching you, please, you've got it.
No matter what hardships you are currently facing right now, no matter how dark and hopeless life is, remember one thing: life is just a dream, and we all wake up one day, and our souls wake up, release from our bodies, and we'll look back one day thinking, wow, that was a wild ride, that was a weird ass dream, and try to hold on to that life if you can. Hold, no matter how bad it is. Hold on to those memories, hold on to those experiences and those events, because your future self will fight to want to remember it again. So don't worry. This pain will go one day.
Okay, so you've heard her. This is Leah Capitelli, and this is this amazing, wonderful girl, Starseed, part of the Star People, and support her, follow her, and Leah, I hope we can see each other again on camera sometime soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tear down the restrictions, man. Like, I need to get out of my house. I'm in a bathrobe.
I know. Okay, so you take care. Thank you again. And this is the final episode of Starseed revolving around Leah Capitelli, Star People. Thank you, everybody, for listening from the Explain Group and Leah Capitelli.
Thank you, guys. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
See ya.